Howdy folks, this is Father Dougal 9000 here, and welcome to the 25th episode of Dougal's Game Finish Chronicles, that series where I talk about the games I've played and beaten as part of the Hardcore Gaming 101 Forums Game Finish Challenge. Yup, that's right, 25 episodes, a quarter of 100, the 5 squared, the 1 more than 24. It is wild to think there's been so many of these already, and perhaps it's kind of fitting that not only are we covering more than 3 games, 4 to be exact, but most of them are sequels to games covered in earlier episodes of the show. That wasn't really the plan, it just worked out that way, and you know, it's nice when things work out not as you planned, but in a cool way all the same. Today's games were originally logged from the 22nd of June to the 5th of July, 2021. Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, for the Nintendo Switch. I decided to grab this and its sequel off the Switch eShop when they were doing digital sales, along with a few other games, because I always liked the idea behind this series. Not so much the blasting dinosaurs with alien weapons angle, that's pretty cool, but my interest was seeing how the 90s shooter framework of platforming, shooting, puzzle solving, and navigating at once would work when you had true 3D environments at your disposal. To my surprise, actually quite well. Jumping can sometimes be a little bit tricky due to you needing to run up for a good distance and how landing kills all sense of momentum, which is particularly tricky when you're trying to do consecutive jumps, but it's otherwise a good game for moving, exploring, and shooting things at the same time. I particularly like how speedy and easy to control swimming is, making some of the underwater-based secrets really quite cool to discover. I dig that every level offers its own unique design trick, like how the ruins are focused on winding, confusing mazes, or the treetop village emphasizes an insane degree of verticality in a way that only a Nintendo 64 game from 1997 would attempt. However, some stages do end up being forgettable outside of their aesthetic. I can't even remember level 3. As someone who enjoys exploring these big levels, I appreciated searching high and low for the level keys, and most levels are structured in a linear enough fashion that you don't have to go far if you missed one. That said, certain locations weren't conveyed as well as I think the designers thought they were, and I did end up using walkthroughs a couple of times, but you know, it's nice to use walkthroughs if you need them. Overall, I quite liked Turok 1, and I was honestly hoping that I'd like its sequel as well, but its sequel is a very different, much more convoluted, much harder beast that I just didn't enjoy. I don't know, maybe I'll give it another shot and it'll appear on this show in some point at the distant future. Maybe, but God, I honestly don't know. Still, check out Turok 1 if you can, it is quite a cool video game. Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure, or Advanced Adventure, for the Game Boy Advance. At the time I originally did this, I wanted something short to play, because the only games I otherwise wanted to play at the moment were quite lengthy affairs. So I decided to blitz through this pretty cool action platformer adapting Dragon Ball from the beginning through to the Piccolo Daima arc, I think in one sitting, if I remember rightly. Now, this was actually one of the earliest games I covered for the Hardcore Gaming 101 website proper, but while my opinion of the game at the time was that it was fairly middling, I've come to appreciate it a lot more since. It's very to the point, with just enough moves to help you fight enemies or explore, but no more than that, and I feel it's a great part of its charm. Other games have way more developed mechanics or more interesting level design, but they can sometimes be a bit too much depending on what you're in the mood for. In the same way that Final Fantasy Mystic Quest can be a good Japanese RPG to play through if you just want something simple without all the fluff and fuss usually inherent to the genre, Advanced Adventure is a good action platformer. Plus, it looks and sounds great, so you get a very aesthetically pleasing game on top of all that. Hell yeah, Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure. Metroid Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance. I had to do some laundry today with my mom, so I decided to replay Zero Mission for a lark while waiting for the washing machine and dryer to do their thing. My relationship with this game is somewhat strange, in that I often don't think very fondly of it when I'm not playing it, mainly due to how linear the overall progress route is. But then it's a game that plays very well, and I'm more than happy to replay it when the mood strikes me. On this replay, I appreciated how straightforward it was, because I knew more or less where to go, making for something that's solid and simple to blitz through. Except for when I got mildly confused in the middle of darting back and forth between Norfair and Kraid, and spent 5 to 10 minutes looking in the wrong place for the next upgrade. I beat it in about 2 hours, which is the quickest I've ever beaten Zero Mission, as I didn't bother looking for anything off to the side unless I just happened to stumble across it, and I especially didn't bother with the victory lap you can do after acquiring all the power-ups. I like that you can choose to do that, but I prefer viewing the final section as its own self-contained thing, since the intended stream of emotions as you make your way through is just too good to reject for that victory lap. I really do dig how it's been designed overall, and I'm happy that this replay got me to appreciate that in ways I previously hadn't, so yeah, check out Zero Mission. It is straightforward and pretty dang cool. Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the Xbox 360. Symphony is considered one of the inaugural classics of the Metroidvania exploration style, and one thing I've come to appreciate is how much choice you get in terms of equipment. You can choose from various weapons, sub-weapons, equipment, familiars, and more, so you can explore the castle and fight enemies in whatever way is most comfortable for you. Yes, this frequently breaks the level of challenge after the first couple hours and things open up, but I think that allows for just about anyone who can get over the opening section to enjoy the game however they like. I wouldn't consider this my favorite of the Castlevania games in this style. That title belongs very, very strongly to Circle of the Moon, but there's plenty to admire and adore about this one. If nothing else, that general approachability makes for a great game to blank out to while listening to a podcast, which I did plenty of during this playthrough. It was the right game at the right time, and I couldn't have asked for better than that. And with that, we've wrapped up the 25th episode of the series. I hope that you enjoyed watching this and all the previous episodes, and that you'll tune in for the next video. Thank you so much, and until we meet again, have a wonderful day.